Nora Vale stepped down at Cottonwood Crossing with a marriage contract in her reticule and a yellow depot tag wired to the handle of her trunk. The tag swung once in the wind, black stencil, 2 words: dead weight. Half the platform saw it before she did. Men unloading flour sacks forgot the sacks in their hands. A boy near the water barrel stared until his mother pulled him back. The telegraph clerk lowered his eyes as if shame had suddenly become weather. Only Silas Roan kept looking. He stood beside the freight scale in a cream-colored cattleman's coat, smiling like he had arranged the whole sky to witness his joke. "Well, Ward," Silas called, loud enough for the teamsters and stockmen to hear. "Here is the bride the agency sent you. Small purse, no people, no use. Just enough trouble to tip 2 Pines Ranch into my hands." Eli Ward stood at the edge of the platform with dust on his boots and a feed ledger tucked under one arm. He had come to town for axle grease, calf salts, and a price on winter hay. Not for a wife. His ranch sat 14 miles north of Cottonwood Crossing, thin on cattle, thinner on credit, and every man in the yard knew Silas wanted the water meadow behind it. Nora held her chin level. She was 31 years old, not a girl to be passed from hand to hand for the entertainment of men. She had crossed 2 territories, believing a respectable marriage office had matched her with a rancher who needed a practical wife. Now she was standing on a public platform with an insult tied to everything she owned. She looked at Eli. "Did you send for me?" Eli looked first at the tag, then at her face. "No, ma'am," he said. "But I did not invite any man here to shame you either." Silas laughed through his teeth. "That is the trouble with pride, Ward. It costs more than feed. Refuse her and the agency calls breach. Keep her and you feed another mouth. Either way, your note comes due at the Saturday sale." The words landed harder than the laughter. Because if Eli Ward did not pay the bank by Saturday sundown, 2 Pines Ranch would not merely be poor, it would be Silas Roan's. Eli stepped forward. He untwisted the wire from Nora's trunk, pulled the yellow tag free, folded it once, and slipped it into his coat. "She is not cargo," he said. "And she is not yours to price." The platform went still. Nora should have felt rescued. Instead, she felt the trap close around them both. Eli lifted her trunk himself. "Miss Vale," he said, keeping his voice low enough that the crowd had to lean to hear nothing. "There is an eastbound train in 3 hours. I can buy your fare and set your trunk back where it came from. Or I can take you to 2 Pines so you can see the trouble somebody meant to drop you into. No promise, no claim. Your choice." It was the first decent offer she had received since the conductor called the station name. Nora looked toward the waiting train. Then she looked at Silas Roan. His smile had narrowed, but it had not vanished. "I will see the ranch," she said. Silas tilted his hat. "See it quick. It will not carry his name much longer." Eli did not answer. He loaded her trunk into the wagon, helped her up without letting his hand linger, and drove north under a sky the color of old brass. For the first mile they rode in silence. The prairie rolled flat and bright on both sides, open enough to make every lie look smaller. Nora kept the marriage paper folded in her lap. Eli held the reins with both hands, his jaw working as if he was wearing down words he refused to spend. "You truly did not ask for a bride?" she said. "No." Then why bring me out? Because Roan wanted me to make you beg on that platform, Eli said. I have been foolish plenty of times, Miss Vale. I have not been that kind of foolish yet. The answer steadied her more than a tender speech could have. Tender speeches were easy. A man refusing a cheap cruelty when it cost him something. That was harder to counterfeit. Two Pines Ranch appeared near sundown. A gray house leaned into the wind. Two barns stood behind it, one patched with mismatched boards, the other missing half its paint. At the gate, two carved pine trees hung crooked from an iron hinge. In the calf lot, young stock crowded a trough with their ribs showing through dull hides. A hired hand watched the wagon arrive and spat into the dust. That is Bram Holt, Eli said. He believes any new mouth is a mistake. He may be right, Nora said. Eli looked at her then, not with pity, not with surprise, with the sober attention of a man who had just heard the truth stated cleanly. Trouble was already here, he said. The question is whether you are more trouble than Roan planned for. The next morning gave him part of the answer. Nora came to the calf lot in a brown travel dress with the sleeves pinned back, her hair braided tight at the nape of her neck, and a pencil tucked behind one ear. Bram snorted when she asked for the feed sacks. Bride wants to count corn, he said. Another hand laughed from the water trough. Maybe she can count how many days before Roan owns our supper plates. Nora did not blush. She stepped to the penrail and watched the calves push and turn. The biggest ones crowded the trough. The weak ones hung along the fence, licking dust from their noses. Bride wants to know why the sick calves are penned with the greedy ones, she said. Bram looked at Eli for permission to laugh again. Eli did not give it. Nora pointed to three smaller calves under the shade of the hay rack. Those are not lazy. They're losing every meal before it reaches their mouths. Split the pen, clean the trough, salt the water barrels. Stop throwing the fines from the bottom of the sacks on top like dust is feed. Bram's face darkened. That order cost Eli something. Nora saw it at once. Men who were already afraid of losing wages hated being told to listen to the woman brought in as a public joke. Eli rested both hands on the rail. Do it, he said. By noon, Nora had separated 23 calves into 3 pens. The strongest went to the long trough. The middle lot got soaked mash and clean water. The weakest were marked with blue chalk and fed after the others had settled. She did not speak of miracles. She spoke of weight, water, salt, rest, and patience. Her father had kept cattle books for a stockyard in Kansas before a winter fever took him. Nora had learned early that a ranch was not saved by pride. It was saved by noticing hunger before hunger became death. Eli watched from the gate. You have handled cattle before, he said. I have watched men ignore them before. The corner of his mouth shifted. That I believe. In 2 days, the weakest calves stopped hanging back. In 4, 2 that Bram had called crowbait were pressing their noses into the mash. Nora claimed no victory. She only kept the pencil behind her ear and the blue chalk in her pocket. But the hired hand stopped laughing where she could hear. On the far road, one of Silas Roan's riders slowed his horse long enough to count the pens. By supper, Cottonwood Crossing would know the deadweight bride had made something live. Silas heard it too. Before he could answer, Nora made her own move. She asked Eli to take her to the south meadow, a rough strip below the cottonwoods that he had nearly stopped using because the grass came up sour and patchy. Bram muttered that a mail-order woman from Topeka did not know alkali ground from cake flour. Nora did not waste a word on him. She knelt, pulled a thin tuft of grass by the roots, and rubbed the soil between her fingers. "This ground has not given up," she said. "It is being wasted." Eli crouched beside her. Wasted ground and wasted men look the same from the road. Then stop judging it from the road. He turned his head, and for the first time, warmth reached his eyes before caution could cover it. Nora walked the meadow with him for nearly an hour. She pointed to the shallow scars where spring water had run too fast and left the roots bare. She showed him where cattle had trampled the same easy path until the soil packed hard as fired clay. She found the old ditch gate, half buried under brush and rust, still holding enough shape to work if a man had more time than money. A half day of clearing, a brush dam at the cut, and a week with the cattle held off that strip could bring back enough late hay to carry the weakest calves through a mean winter. She did not promise wealth. She promised one thing only: enough. "And if it fails?" Eli asked. Nora looked toward the far ridge. Silas Roan wanted this meadow. That meant he had seen value before Eli could afford to protect it. "Then you can say you lost a week trusting dead weight." Eli's expression changed. He reached into his coat and drew out the yellow tag. "This is Roan's word," he said, holding it between them. "Do not lend him your mouth." No one had ever said it to her so plainly, not gently, plainly. And somehow it struck deeper than comfort. By sunset, Eli had Bram and the other hands clearing the ditch. He put his last good seed sacks under Nora's tally and worked the brush dam himself until his palms opened and bled. When Bram complained, Eli lifted one torn hand. "Her name is in the ledger for this work," he said. "If it fails, I answer with her. If it works, no man here forgets who saw it first." Nora turned away before the men could read her face. At the far end of the ridge, a roan rider sat still in the saddle. Then he turned back toward town. Nora knew Silas would not wait long. On Thursday morning, Eli rode to Cottonwood Crossing for salt and came back with an empty wagon. "Roan bought the store account," he said. Nora took the folded notice from his hand. No more salt on credit, no calf meal, no buyer pegs for 2 Pines stock unless Eli signed a meadow option to Silas before Saturday. At the bottom, in clean ink, someone had written, "Ward cattle listed as light, sour, and poor winter risk." Nora read the line twice. "He can say that and make it stand?" "He owns 3 board seats and scares the other 2, Eli said. "Without buyer pegs, there is no fair bid. Without a fair bid, I miss the note. Without the note, he takes the ranch and the meadow with it." Nora folded the paper along its crease. Her hands stayed steady. Eli saw the hurt anyway. "I can still put you on the afternoon train," he said. "Do you want me gone?" He looked toward the crooked gate. "No." The word came rough, too honest to sound polite. Nora felt it reach her before she let herself answer. "Then do not offer the train because you are afraid for me. Offer it only if you want me to take it." Eli turned back. His eyes were tired, gray, and careful. "I want you to stay," he said. "But wanting is not the same as asking. Not while Roan has a rope around this place." That evening they sat on the fence rail with 2 tin cups of coffee cooling between them. Nora had blue chalk in the crease of one finger. Eli had worry carved so deep between his brows that even the falling light could not soften it. "Your father carved those pines?" she asked, nodding toward the gate. "With a dull knife and a bad temper," Eli said. "He believed this land would hold if a man held with it." "And you think you have proved him wrong?" He gave a short laugh. "I have spent 4 years proving him wrong." "No," Nora said. "You have spent 4 years being squeezed by a man who calls the squeeze weather." Eli looked at her. "That sounds less forgiving." "It is not meant to forgive him." Saturday was 2 days away. After that, no tenderness on earth would keep a banker from locking a gate. Eli reached for her empty cup. Their fingers touched. It was no grand thing, just a brush of skin, work-worn and brief. But Eli stilled as if the entire ranch had stopped breathing. He took his hand back first. "When I ask something of you, Nora Vale," he said, "I want it to be after no man can say I asked because I was cornered." She looked at him fully then. "Then let us make sure he loses the corner." The rope tightened before it broke. The next afternoon, a black buggy came up the north road carrying the brass plate of the Prairie Matrimonial Office. The woman holding the reins wore a green traveling coat and a face too pale for the heat. Nora knew her before Eli did. "Lydia Marsh," she said. Lydia had shared a boarding house with Nora the winter after Nora's father died. She had copied letters for the agency, matched women to ranchers, and sworn the work was respectable. Now she could not meet Nora's eyes. "I told them you were steady," Lydia said. Her voice was thin. "I did not know about the tag." "But you knew Silas Roan paid the fee." Lydia tightened her gloves around the reins. "He said Mr. Ward had asked for a practical woman, someone who would not expect comfort." "Say all of it." Eli stood behind Nora without speaking. He let the truth come without pushing it. Lydia swallowed. "Roan said a woman with no family and no money would make the ranch easier to break. If you stayed, you would cost Ward. If you left, the breach would cost him. He said either way, Ward would look beaten before the sale." The words cut cleaner than Silas's laughter. Silas was an enemy. Lydia had known the price of Nora's loneliness. Lydia pulled a train ticket from her coat. "Take it," she said. "Leave before Saturday. He means to finish both of you in front of the buyer board." Nora took the ticket. Eli's face changed, but he said nothing. That silence was its own kind of proof. He would not beg her into danger just because he wanted her beside him. "Thank you," Nora said. Lydia's shoulders loosened. Then Nora folded the ticket and put it in her apron pocket. "I did not say I would use it." That night, Silas opened the south fence. They found the cut wire before dawn. Hoof tracks streamed toward the alkali flats where the ground broke into white crust and hidden holes. Bram cursed and reached for his horse. Eli was already in the saddle. Nora came out of the barn with her skirt tied up, a rope in one hand and the blue chalk still in her pocket. One of the marked calves bawled from the low wash, separated from its mother. Eli started to say no. Nora looked at the tracks. "Say it while riding," she said. She rode harder than Bram expected and smarter than Eli feared. When the scattered cattle bunched at the edge of the flats, she did not chase the lead steer. She rode wide, quiet, and low, letting him turn because he believed he had chosen the turn himself. Eli saw Bram watching her from the rise. Respect entered the man like a thrown stone through glass. They brought back all but 7 head. One chalk-marked calf went down with a cut foreleg. Nora knelt in the dust, bounded with a strip torn from her own petticoat, and spoke low until the animal stopped shaking. Eli dismounted beside her. "You could still leave," he said. "I know. Roan will have half the county ready to laugh. Then half the county can see my face while they do it." "Your face?" Eli asked. Nora stood. Dust streaked one cheek. Her braid had come loose. She looked tired enough to fall and fierce enough to make any man ashamed of hoping she would. "He sent me here to become the burden in his story," she said. "If I leave before the sale, that is all I remain." Eli looked at the cut fence, then at the woman who had ridden into bad ground before sunrise. "Not in mine," he said. They drove the Two Pines herd into Cottonwood Crossing the next morning, beneath a flat white sky. Silas Roan had made a show of waiting. The buyer board stood near the stock pens, a plank rail with brass pegs hanging from hooks. Each peg meant a buyer willing to bid. The rail marked Two Pines was empty. Men gathered because men always gather when a rich man plans to make a poor man smaller. Lydia stood beside the agency buggy, pale and stiff. The telegraph clerk watched from the depot door. Bram and the hands held the cattle near the gate. Silas lifted Eli's banknote in one hand. "Ward brought his charity herd," he called. "And the woman meant to teach him the sense he lacked. Any buyer hanging a peg for that stock answers to me." Nora walked to the pen gate before Eli could move. She wore a plain dark work dress. Blue chalk marked 2 of her fingers. Her boots were still crusted from the alkali flats. She did not look at Silas first. She looked at the buyers. "You were told these cattle were light and sour," she said. "Look at them before you buy another man's lie." Bram swung the gate open. The lead steers moved into the pen. They were not fat enough for a showman's boast. They were better than that. Clean-eyed, standing square, carrying enough weight to make several buyers lean toward the rail despite themselves. The calves Silas had counted as losses pushed behind them, smaller but alive, with the blue chalk still bright along their hips. One buyer reached toward his peg, then caught himself. Silas saw it. His mouth tightened. "Pretty sorting does not pay a banknote." "No," Nora said. "Bids do." He snapped his fingers toward Lydia. "Tell them what the agency sent." Lydia looked at Nora. Shame moved across her face, but shame by itself was cheap. Nora waited to see whether Lydia would pay more than that. Lydia stepped away from the buggy. "Silas Roan paid the marriage fee," she said, loud enough for the first row to hear. "He told us to send a woman alone. He said if she was laughed off the platform, Eli Ward would look desperate before the sale. He said if she stayed, she would drain the ranch before the note came due." The telegraph clerk lowered his head. He remembered the yellow tag he had pretended not to see. Silas lunged toward Lydia's arm. Eli caught his wrist, not hard enough to break it, hard enough that every buyer saw who had grabbed first. "Careful," Eli said. Silas jerked free and slapped the banknote against the rail. "The note is due by sundown. Confession or no confession, I hold the paper." Nora turned to the buyers again. "Then bid before sundown," she said. "Not for pity, not for ward. Bid because those cattle are worth more than Roan told you, and because a man who lies about a woman at a depot will lie about stock in a pen." For one breath, nothing moved. Then Mr. Calder, an army beef buyer with a white mustache and a habit of mistrusting loud men, pulled his brass peg from Roan's side of the board. Miss hung it on the Two Pines rail. The sound was small, but the whole yard heard it. Another peg followed, then another. Silas stepped forward. "Any man who does that loses Roan winter rates." Mr. Calder folded Roan's printed rate sheet and put it in his coat. "Then I will buy cattle at cattle prices," he said. Bram moved to the rail. "And any man still afraid of Roan should know his rider cut our south fence last night. I found fresh yellow paint on the wire from his saddle box." Two buyers shifted their pegs before Bram finished speaking. That did it. The rail filled. Silas looked at the board, then at the herd, then at Nora Vale. For the first time since she had stepped off the train, his smile had no place to stand. The bids came fast. Eli stood beside Nora, but he did not speak over her. When the final number landed, it paid the banknote, bought winter salt in cash, and left enough to secure the South Meadow lease Silas had planned to steal. Nora took the banknote from Silas's hand herself. "Paid by Two Pines cattle," she said. No one laughed at the chalk on her fingers then. They looked at it as if it were a brand. There was no cheering. The quiet was better. It was the sound of men deciding Silas Roan's permission no longer weighed as much as his fear had made it seem. "Ward's cattle," Silas spat. Eli looked at the buyer board, then at Nora. "Two Pines cattle," he said. "Managed by Nora Vale, if she will put her name on the books." The stockyard went quiet in a different way. Nora had arrived with a tag around her trunk. Now the men who had read it waited to hear whether she would accept a place no one could hang around her neck. She looked at Eli. His face held hope, but not demand. Wanting, but waiting. "On the books first," she said. His eyes softened. "On the books first." Lydia lost her agency desk before noon. The telegraph clerk refused to handle another Prairie matrimonial contract until the fee Silas paid had been returned to Nora. Lydia signed the repayment paper with shaking fingers and gave Nora the first $3 from her own purse. "I am sorry," Lydia said. Nora took the money. "Be better before you ask me what sorry is worth." Silas Roan lost more than a joke that day. Buyers pulled their accounts from his board. The storekeeper reopened Eli's account only to find him paying in cash. The South Meadow lease was marked to Nora Vale and Eli Ward before dusk, witnessed by men who had moved their brass pegs with their own hands. When Nora and Eli drove home, the yellow insult tag lay under the paid banknote in the wagon box. By first snow, the meadow Nora had called wasted carried enough hay to keep the weak calves standing. By spring, Two Pines had lost only 4 head out of the first calf crop under Nora's ledger. The county paper called it luck. Nora called it counting the hungry ones before the proud ones. On the day they rehung the Two Pines gate, Eli brought out a fresh ledger board. At the top, he had painted the ranch name in white letters. Beneath it were 2 lines, Eli Ward, and a blank space. Nora took the chalk. Her hand did not shake. She wrote Nora Vale beside his name. Then she carried the yellow tag into the gatehouse and pinned it beneath the paid banknote where every new hand would see it before stepping onto Two Pines land. The same tag that had swung from her trunk now hung under proof no cruel man could argue with. Eli removed his hat. The wind lifted his hair and made him look younger than debt had ever allowed. "Nora," he said, "I asked your name onto the books in front of buyers. I am asking this with no note over me and no train waiting behind you. May I call on you properly?" She looked at the gate, the ledger board, the meadow beyond it, the ranch that had tried to die and failed. Then she looked at the man who had called her free before he ever called her wanted. "Yes," she said, "but do not expect courtship to excuse you from calf counts." Eli smiled at last. "I was hoping it would require them." Together they turned the gate sign outward so every rider on the Cottonwood Road saw both names before entering. Inside the gatehouse, the yellow tag remained beneath the paid note. Not hidden, not forgiven, remembered, because a cruel man can hang a price on anything. But worth is proven by what still stands after his hand lets go.